Good morning, good evening, and wherever the sun may find you. My name is Walt, and this is Coffee and Concepts, the mid-morning edition. What happens when you end up laying in bed, can't fall asleep, and binge watch a show till really late? This morning, I'm joined after much technical conquering, like a mighty mountaineer summiting the peak. We have Mr. Guy Anthony Demarco. How are you, sir?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I am grateful that we have crested the summit, planted our flag, and are heading for base camp. So it's been an interesting morning. What kind of coffee are you drinking, sir?
I am actually drinking Taylor's tea.
Scottish breakfast tea. What does it taste like?
It's actually a little malty. I like that and Irish breakfast. So,
Right on.
it's a good, strong black tea.
Ooh, I like black teas. The green teas, I think green tea has a tendency to be too sweet for me. It doesn't have that. And then you got well, depending on the area, and then you have like things like the Japanese black tea, which has sweet in the front of like when it hits your taste buds, but then at the back it tastes kind of like sour. Have you ever had stick teas?
No, not that I know of.
I had some of those in the Philippines, and those were interesting. And then we were really surprised
I've
when
been
we
there.
went.
I've actually been to the Philippines, but I didn't have the tea there.
Yeah, it was in one of the local markets down in Cebu. What part of the Philippines were you in?
Actually, I was on base. I actually never left the base.
Right on.
Because there was really nothing that interested me. But a friend of mine who was actually Filipino, and I was actually going to go off base with him, but then I had some bad news, had to fly home, and then a month later, the volcano blew up and wiped out the Air Force Base.
Oh yeah, no bueno.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, did you try any of the local cuisine?
Well, on base, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I lived in Thailand for a year too, so.
Ooh, there you go. Did you try balut while you were in the Philippines?
No, nope. Just didn't sound. I'm pretty open. I eat all kind. I've eaten bugs in Thailand. Doesn't bother me. Kimchi, I've tried it, didn't like it, but balut I wouldn't even try. But now I've even tried durian.
Right on. And I'm sucking down in my my to-go cup because everything has to be stuffed in my pockets these days. I have Kenyan breakfast tea, not tea, coffee. So the Kenyan coffees have a lot of the same principles as many of the coffees that are in that area. Usually a sweet taste with like really, really Silent Wolf was saying, yuck on the durian. And so we're prompting much food debate this morning. Lauren is like, I heart kimchi.
Maybe I just didn't have a good batch, but
something about spicy wet cabbage. And just
oh, I love regular old sauerkraut.
Oh, really? I couldn't get into it. It just the flavor and consistency just didn't agree with me. Me dispiace. But yeah, Kenyan's coffee has that really, really sweet upfront taste, and then on the back end, you got a little bit of like almost like a nutty flavor. Another good example of the flavor profile in the same family is like Ethiopian coffee, which has almost like a blueberry taste. So I mean, it's very, very similar, but at the same time, there's enough difference to where you can actually taste the strangeness that goes on with different growing areas. So and how that affects taste. But speaking of tastes, and as I use my blunt force segue, we're going to be talking about pseudonyms today. And just have a little bit of a discussion about why you might want one, why you might not want one, and where it goes from here. Because you just recently started using another pseudonym, didn't you?
Yeah, I added my 10th pseudonym.
10th. That's
10th.
crazy. So, uh, do you like when you're answering emails for people in the pseudonym in the actual pseudonyms? Do you like talk out loud and speak in different voices so it seems like different people?
Actually, the toughest thing is to make sure that if I'm emailing somebody, I actually send them the email through the right email account.
Oh, right
That's the
on,
toughest thing for me.
right on. And how and do you have an email account associated with every single one?
uh, Email account, website. I have don't tell Facebook. I have some Facebook accounts set up for them. Some of them for years.
Oh wow. Now, do you use like different machines or spoof an IP or change a MAC address in order to get Facebook to leave you alone on that?
Actually, they've never uh, caused me any issues. But most of the time, when I'm logging into the pseudonyms, I'm going through I'm using Chrome and going through an incognito window.
Right on, right on. Cool deal. Well, I know some people will be googling that later. Um, excuse me. Uh, I, I'm allergic to cats, so
Send them to me. I love cats.
I can't. My wife would kill me. um, so, what prompted you to set up this latest pseudonym?
I was going to write some space opera, and I really don't have a lot of space opera under my belt.
Gotcha.
So I thought, well, my name is associated with, pretty much every genre. So I wanted to focus. The person I set up is Jackson Dix, Dix.
Gotcha. Named
So
after the military base?
um, actually, no. Dix was named after a town I lived in Nebraska.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Now, when you set something like this up, um, uh, so Josh Hayes is saying, What space time continuum have we torn open for Guy to breach the airwaves? You're just jealous because I got him first."
Through a lot of hard work.
Yes,
Let me tell you.
it was intense. Um, so so when you're setting up a pseudonym and setting up creating this alternative or this alternate persona um, for something like space opera, do you start just by creating the pseudonym and then just letting it sit till the book hits, or do you start prep work, kind of like an author setting up a new series where you establish an online presence, start commenting in places using that persona, that kind of deal?
Well, the first thing I do when I set up a new one is go and make sure the domain is available. That's something Josh should have done right away. um, Actually, Scott Moon should have too. But I get to poke at them. So I looked for. There was like 5 or 6 names I had, and the only one that was available was Jackson Dix. So I went ahead and got the domain. Once I had the domain, I went ahead and set everything else up. I don't have my Facebook account set up yet,
Gotcha.
but I'll get around to that. I had a whole bunch of other stuff. I was deadlines I had to catch up on. Plus, I'm helping a friend out with migrating his author website to my virtual server that I have.
Oh, there you go. Nice. Nice. Why is he doing that?
Because he was stuck with GoDaddy.
Oh no.
I've never had as many issues transferring a domain and all of the website over than I've had with GoDaddy.
Yeah, they're very clingy.
Yeah, they are. They're pretty bad. I also go out of my way. I do things like I run a front end through Cloudflare
Gotcha.
that filters out any about half the idiots that try to come in and do hacking stuff or denial of service, and it also gives a free SSL certificate.
Oh, cool.
So that's quite handy. So
Yeah. The
all of mine are set up. And Keystroke, I host KeyStrokeMedium.com too. So same deal.
yeah,
They have a free SSL, and I host them for free.
that's fantastic. So because I got to do it, I'm bringing it back to the pseudonyms, because I could talk tech all day, and afterwards I'll pick your brain. When you're creating a pseudonym, one of the questions that don't get asked a lot is, how does that work for places like Amazon and direct marketing through authors? So when you're getting paid, when you're uploading books, when you're doing things, how does that? Is it all just through one central account and all the pseudonyms are broken into pieces, or is it you have to have a separate account for each pseudonym?
Well, all of my the self-published stuff is actually run through an LLC that that I own. So I have a full business account set up, and all the payments go through that. So it certainly does help. So and they the presses. I have a bunch of imprints under the business name, and all of them basically go through the imprint or go through the company name, Evil Brain Trust LLC.
Fantastic.
I have two. I have one in Wyoming and one in Colorado.
All right, right on. So basically, all the pseudonyms work for the parent company. The parent company uploads all the books and deals with all the back end.
Yep. So that saves all the issues with what's your social security number?
Gotcha.
He got none because he doesn't exist.
So with when you're creating a pseudonym, what's a good rule of thumb as far as like something kind of middle of the road that people would say, yeah, I'd buy a book from that guy. He sounds like somebody who can write. Because I mean, we've heard from guys like Steve Bollier, who writes under a pseudonym because people might have trouble with his last name. People like our friend who is lurking, J.R. Hanley. He's a kind of a pseudonym. What's a good way to pick a pseudonym? Like, I noticed that the majority seem to have almost like a formula. It's either 2 syllables in the front and 1 in the back, or 1 syllable in the front and 2 in the back. And they're usually very occidental names.
Pretty much that's what I go for too. I look at them as I'm trying to write a Western protagonist. Nice, straightforward, to the point, 2 or 3 syllables at the most.
Gotcha.
So that's what I look for. Or I use initials.
Gotcha. Like WMC or something great.
Like GAD Marco.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Simple. Leads back to the source, but yet people who don't know.
Exactly.
Right on. Right on. Now, is it I don't know if I should post this, but Lexi Price from YouTube saying, Lexi Price is my pseudonym. My name is Amy. Well, hello, Amy. When you're creating the pseudonym, is there any like hard and fast rule or kind of like an accepted norm throughout the community about how wild you can get? Like earlier, JR was like, oh, his real screen name is Chuck Tingle. Are there pseudonyms out there where people just play with it mercilessly, and then kind of at the back end, everybody just kind of laughs at it?
It really depends on the genre. I see a lot more tongue-in-cheek, pardon the pun, when you're talking erotica or romance.
Right on. What about some of the other genres?
Everything else seems to be a little more laid back as far as not going really wild. Something that I would recommend people avoid is trying to set up a pseudonym to give the impression that you're somebody you're not. For example, if you make up a pseudonym and you have that pseudonym, they're from Ghana, Africa, for example. People are going to be a little annoyed when I found out, you're an Italian kid from New York.
Oh, that didn't happen, did it?
No, it didn't. But it might have if I didn't see, especially in a romance arena, several people who did try it. Romance authors also tend to not particularly like if you're a guy and you're writing under a girl, or a male writing under a female. That's why a lot of times you'll find initials.
Yeah.
And it's sort of reversed in the other genres. So you got J.K. Rowling, for example, who adopted her initials because she was told boys won't read it because you're not male.
Yeah.
Which is sad, and in the 40s, yeah, there were a lot more misogynistic way back then, but apparently that's still the case, unfortunately.
That's a bum deal.
It is.
Well, the thing about pseudonyms that I've always found is that the people behind them are usually lead pretty interesting lives and are doing it just to distance themselves a bit.
One of the reasons I set up some of my erotica stuff was I used to teach at the college level, so I did need to sort of separate that.
Right on. Yeah, give that personal and professional life a little bit of a boundary.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. There's so much stuff we could unpack with just digging into this. But we're kind of like bumping our head on the ceiling as far as time, because we try and keep these a bit short. Would you be willing to come on and talk about this again now that we know we have a system that works?
Anytime.
Nice. You heard it first. Don't forget to check out Keystroke Medium live on Monday nights with Josh, Chuck, and Scott Moon, the guy who said he missed his URL. Coffee and Concepts, obviously, normally at 7:30, but of course, I'm quarantined. I don't know. But not because of COVID. My leg's busted. Storytelling with Josh Caillou is long form storytelling you can find on the YouTube channel. And then, of course, Writing Journey coming across on Thursday nights with Lauren and Kayleen as they find all that's fit to write about getting into the author scene. Any final thoughts before we call this a podcast, sir?
No, I appreciate you inviting me on, and hopefully I'll be back.
Excellent. I appreciate the wake up call, because I was all groggy and I'm like, crap, I can't believe it.
I appreciate the troubleshooting. So
yeah, absolutely, too easy. Just what did they say earlier? Two nerds throwing tech talk at my computer.
Yeah, well, 33 years in the IT industry, and I could still learn stuff.
Absolutely. Well, especially these days, the stuff's developing so fast.
Yeah.
But with that in mind, this has been Keystroke Mediums, Coffee and Concepts for reading, writing, and a little bit more as you spill coffee all over my desk. Have fun.